What is up, weather enthusiasts? I'm your host, Pat's Path Predictor. Let's get right into the weather. Alright, so here's the situation we have for you, ladies and gentlemen. We have a snowstorm that is continuing to organize and develop over Colorado, Kansas, New Mexico, Oklahoma, and Nebraska, and we're going to have to continue to keep an eye on all this stuff that's going on. We still have snow falling in New England at this current point in time. However, we are looking at several new threats of weather going into this week coming up. First of all, we have this winter storm right here. And the second, we have a lot of severe weather potentially down in the deep south that we'll go ahead and briefly discuss right now to kind of start this out right here. Let me go ahead and kind of move this over to show you what we're potentially looking at. So here's what we have for tomorrow. We have an enhanced risk of severe weather for the Florida Panhandle, southern Alabama, southern Mississippi, and southeastern Louisiana, including New Orleans. 4 million people are in this enhanced risk right here, and I'm going to briefly talk about it since we are looking at some potentially big stuff. Severe thunderstorms capable of strong wind gusts and tornadoes are expected from southeast Texas across the central Gulf Coast from Monday afternoon into early Tuesday morning. Greatest severe potential is anticipated overnight from southeast Louisiana across southern Mississippi and southern Alabama into the Florida Panhandle. Here's the risks that we have for tomorrow. Tornado risk is at 10 hatched, which means there's a 10% risk of EF2 to EF5 tornadoes within 25 miles of a point. We have a 30 hatched wind risk, which means we have a 30% risk of 65 knots or 75 mile per hour wind gusts or greater happening within 25 miles of a certain area. And the hail risk is at a 15% normal risk, which means there's a 15% risk of 1-inch hail happening within 25 miles of a point. So we have that for tomorrow. And now we have severe weather going into Florida, into Georgia, the Carolinas, and I want to briefly talk about real quickly. Strong severe thunderstorms may impact much of the eastern Gulf Coast and southern Atlantic coast states Tuesday, accompanied by a risk of damaging wind gusts and tornadoes. Here's the risks that we have right here. There are potentially going to be impacting up to 40 million people. We have a 15% probabilistic risk. We'll get the wind, rain, tornado, and hail risks tomorrow. So be sure to stay tuned to that for that. Right there. But that's the severe threat that we were kind of talking about. If you're tuning in from the areas like Florida or the Carolinas, be very mindful of what's going to be going on. Just start planning out your days, and we'll keep you updated here on the Pat's Path Predictor channel as some of the thunderstorms could get pretty extreme. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and kind of show you the big meat of what we're looking at, because we still have those two snowstorms that are going to be impacting much of the Midwest. We have that snowstorm that's currently impacting the not the Mid-Atlantic anymore, but New England. But the big stuff that's coming, and not the stuff that I'm really concerned about, isn't going to come until Friday, but the models have not slowed down at all when it comes to the potential of this thing. So here's the situation that we're looking at. We're going to go ahead and start by talking about the first storm that's going to be moving on. In fact, there are some winter storm warnings that are in effect as of right now. We can go ahead and show you. The winter storm warnings are in effect for much of Nebraska, parts of Kansas, parts of Iowa, and there's watches all the way now to Illinois near Rockford, so we're going to have to pay attention to that. We're going to briefly talk about the winter storm warning that's in effect for Nebraska and Kansas to kind of get you up to speed about what's going on. Total snow accumulations of 4 to 6 inches with isolated higher amounts possible. Winds gusting as high as 45 miles per hour. Travel could be very difficult, especially Monday afternoon and Monday night. The hazardous conditions could impact Monday morning and the Monday evening commutes. Gusty winds could bring down tree branches and lead to blowing and drifting snow and poor visibility. So we're going to have to pay attention to that, as this is the first part of the snowstorm that's going to be moving through. Winter storm watches are now in effect as far east as Freeport, Illinois. Here's the winter storm watch in effect. 6 to 12 inches of snow are expected with this. Winds gusting as high as 40 miles per hour Tuesday night into Wednesday morning for portions of north central, northwest, and west central Illinois, Iowa, and Missouri right here from Monday evening through Wednesday morning. So we're going to have to keep an eye on it as more information continues to come on. And with that being said, that's the biggest stuff that's going on. I wouldn't be surprised if these winter storm watches extend as far east as the Chicago area, as they are expecting some snow coming up in the near future. Here's what we have going on. This thing really starts to organize and develop tomorrow, and then moves through much of Illinois into Indiana, Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio, and even into parts of Pennsylvania before it transitions to rain. And then, as we continue to look through it, by pretty much by Wednesday morning, it's out of the Chicago area, and it doesn't fully exit the United States until Thursday. So that's what we have going on as of right now. Here's the total snow accumulations through a lot of the area, but the stuff I'm mainly focusing on is the Chicago area, primarily due to the massive population and due to the fact that they're expected to get something much, much larger in the next few days after this. So snow accumulations across much of the areas, like 5 to 6 inches in parts of parts of DuPage County, parts of McHenry County. You could see up to 6 inches of snow, and even into Lake County, Indiana, you could see over 6 inches as well. So this looks like it's going to be a decent sized snowmaker. Most snow you're probably going to get from this, 8 inches of snow. So we're going to have to continue to keep an eye on it as more data continues to come in. But the main stuff that I'm looking at as of right now is the big stuff, the big winter storm and potential blizzard that we were kind of talking about yesterday. The models have not slowed down on this at all, and let me show you what I'm talking about. So on Thursday, there's the potential of a little bit of an Alberta clipper to move through the Midwest, through Wisconsin, Michigan, Indiana, and Ohio before it moves through Canada. But on Friday night, things start to ramp up again in the plains. First off, you're going to see a lot of severe weather going on pretty much from Arkansas south. And then you have stuff really starting to ramp up through much of St. Louis, through the Chicago area, through much of Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio, even into Indianapolis. The pressure on this gets pretty deep. It gets down to 987, 988 millibars as what we're looking at right here. So things are continuing to show signs of interesting development right there. And then it moves out of the United States by late this week, and then things start to kind of calm down afterward as we look at a potential Arctic blast moving through much of the United States. Excuse me for my stuttering. I apologize for that. But anyway, take a look at these temperatures right here. This is just following that snowstorm, that potential blizzard that we're looking at. We're looking at temperatures in parts of the country down to minus 30 degrees. And in the Chicago area in particular, it gets extremely cold. It gets down to minus 11, minus 10 in a lot of these areas by January 17th. So we're going to have to continue to pay attention to this. You're probably asking me, Patrick, you're talking about snow, not cold. What are the snow accumulations going to be like? Well, let me go ahead and show you the total snow accumulations. This is from the GEM GDPS. The first storm generates 4 to 6 inches across much of the Chicago area, maybe 1 to 3 in St. Louis. In St. Louis, it's not going to be that bad compared to the rest of Illinois. Looking at 9 to 10 inches of snow by the end of this, so another 6+ inches on top of that. But in parts of the Chicago area, we're seeing up to 30 inches of snow total by the end of this. Before, we were looking at 4 to 6 inches by that point. This is what we're looking at right now. Boom. Another potentially 20 to 24 inches on top of this. So this is already a pretty crazy situation that's going to be going on. And another thing to pay attention to as well is the potential winds that are going to be generated by this. This snowstorm comes through, and the lowest I can get is the 925 millibar system right here, but you don't really need the surface to kind of understand what we're looking at, because this is 53 knots of wind at 925 millibars, about 600 meters above the ground. Converted down, you're looking at wind gusts of potentially up to 45, 50 mile per hour winds, which that sustained for 3 hours, plus snow and visibility of less than a quarter of a mile, can contribute to a blizzard. That's what the main criteria for a blizzard, folks. So that's what we have going on through a lot of these areas. The winds eventually calm down as a result of that, but still, you're left with 30+ inches of snow in a lot of Illinois, and even into parts of Indiana, into Michigan, if we go ahead and show you this, in parts of Michigan, Detroit, by the end of both of these storms could see up to a foot of this, but Grand Rapids gets absolutely slammed, Muskogee gets absolutely slammed, Indianapolis gets absolutely slammed, Northwest Indiana gets absolutely slammed, and if these models do hold correctly, a lot of Wisconsin, including Madison and Milwaukee, gets slammed by this. And I know a lot of people are either going, oh yay, we're really excited for this, oh great, we're looking at 2 feet of snow, or you really sure about this, Patrick? This is a little far out for this. This is 5 days out. Take it with a grain of salt. Things are subject to change. We'll keep you updated here. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and move to the European. And the European, we don't really have the precipitation type or anything like that because it doesn't unfortunately offer that. But we do have the total snowfall as a result of this. And from both of these storms, the first one we're going to go ahead and kind of show you right here. We're looking at max, like in some of these areas in western Illinois, we're looking at potential up to 10 inches of snow. Chicago proper gets about 4.8, and parts of northwest Indiana gets like 4. Parts of Michigan, pretty much depending in the rural areas, like 6 to 8, although Grand Rapids could see 6 over here. Detroit could see 2, and St. Louis could see 3. By the end of this over here, we're looking at another potential foot of snow for parts of western Illinois and parts of Chicago. We're seeing basically anywhere from 12 to 18 inches of snow. Same in St. Louis and same all the way through Michigan, Indianapolis. Like Indianapolis gets slammed for this. The Indianapolis suburbs to the north and northwest of this gets up to 20 inches of snow from both of these systems. I don't think they get much snow at the beginning, at the first one, but the second one that moves pretty much right through the Midwest definitely does. And even into parts of Milwaukee, Madison, those areas, we're looking at anywhere from like 18 to 24 inches, depending on where you are in southern Wisconsin. In a northern part where the storm isn't going to be as significant, we're looking at potentially up to like what is this right here, like 6 to 12 inches of snow. So we're going to have to pay attention to that. And the last model I want to go ahead and show you is the GFS model. And the GFS, pretty much by the time this is set in stone and done, really has Missouri in particular getting blasted by this. Here's what we were looking at before. We're looking at maybe a good chance, like up to a foot of snow in northeastern Missouri and parts of western Illinois right there. But then by the time we're over here, things get pretty interesting and things get pretty frisky. And even Kentucky and Tennessee see quite a bit of snowfall from this if the GFS holds. And in some parts of Missouri, we're looking at potentially up to over 3 feet of snow. Keep in mind, this is probably unrealistic at this point. I don't know if this is going to happen or not. Take this with a huge grain of salt. I'm just reporting to you what the models are telling me. So, yeah, even still, a lot of these areas, like St. Louis gets almost 3 feet of snow by the end of this. What were we looking at before this? 3.8. So there's a possibility, if this GFS model holds, that there's going to be, up to 30 inches of snow in some of these areas from one snowstorm. Again, I don't know if this is realistic or not because there's a massive pattern change. And a lot of things, like I said, are subject to change as well. We're still 5 days out from this. We'll keep you updated here on the Pat's Path Predictor channel. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and close the video out right here. I really hope you enjoyed it. Once again, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. It helps us out, helps us make more videos like these. The goal of this channel is to get more people engaged with weather. And with that being said, have a wonderful day, guys. Stay safe.